And now Mr. Beast says whoever wins this position gets $10,000. Just kidding. No bets were made in the making of this video. Mr. Beast and Hikaru Nakamura played 4 games on Hikaru Nakamura's Twitch stream. In one game, Hikaru had no knight. In the next game, Hikaru had no knights, both knights taken off. In the next game, no pawn, and in the final game, 2 pawns down. So Hikaru is down 8 points. Can Jimmy Donaldson win a game against Hikaru Nakamura? Both players start with 8 minutes on the clock, plus 2 seconds per move. Let's introduce the players. Mr. Beast is known as Jimmy Donaldson. He has 48 million subscribers on YouTube. He started YouTube 8 years ago. He creates unique videos which cannot be copied by anyone else. Hikaru Nakamura. He is the highest rated Blitz player at the moment. World number 1 with a rating of 2900. He is world number 4 in Rapid with a rating of 2829. This is the third game they play. Jimmy has white, Nakamura has black, and notice the yellow squares show the pieces missing. Nakamura is down 2 knights and a pawn, so he's down 7 points to start with. So let's see what happens. d4, bishop b7, straight away Nakamura is getting his bishop on this diagonal. Knight f3, e6, bishop g5, Jimmy attacks Nakamura's queen. Nakamura is not going to play a move like bishop e7 to trade, he's going to block the bishop. And now Jimmy went bishop e3. Not the best move because now this pawn can't come forward, this bishop is in the way. Another option was to play bishop f4, and if bishop here, e3, castle, and then bishop e2. Now Jimmy is ready to castle. Mr. Beast has a bishop here, pawn chain here. Very solid setup, very sensible way to play. Everything is being protected in the middle. But Mr. Beast went bishop e3, bishop e7, knight c3, d5. Both Mr. Beast and Nakamura have a pawn each in the center. g3, castle, and bishop g2. Very sensible so far from Mr. Beast. Bishop g2 is such a sensible way to play. Bishop here, knight here, and then you castle. Another option is actually get the bishop out to attack this pawn. Normally this is impossible because black has a pawn here defending this pawn. Bishop g2, rook c8, castle, and c5. Nakamura attacks Mr. B's center. Jimmy takes, and now b4. So far so good from Jimmy. b4 is his first blunder because he wants that pawn back on b2. So then the pawn protects the knight. A good strategy in chess is when you're winning, you should trade. So a good move from Mr. Beast would be to take, and then now get the queen in. This is a rule I like to follow in chess. When you're not sure what to do, move a piece you haven't moved before. So the queen hasn't done anything yet, and these 2 rooks haven't really done anything. So a sensible move would be to put the 2 rooks in the middle. Later on you can move this knight again because it could come to the center, attacking this pawn. However, Mr. Beast went b4 and this returns a piece. Bishop takes bishop, take, and Nakamura took the knight. So Mr. Beast is still winning. He is a knight up. Let's see what happens. Queen d2, queen c8. Nakamura defends his rook and puts pressure on c2. These are the best moves in chess. When you play a move that has 2 reasons. Nakamura defends the rook and puts pressure on this pawn. Rook b1. Jimmy should have protected the pawn. Now rook takes pawn. White now plays the best move of the game, which is rook c1. Hikaru was impressed with this move. You could see him raise his eyebrows with approval. This is one of Jimmy's best moves in the game. White has not chucked his queen because white now takes black's queen. So queen for queen. Now rook takes pawn and Jimmy trades. Rook takes rook, check, king takes. Mr. Beast is still winning. He's got an extra knight, but his pawns are a bit shattered. Couple of pawns here, both under attack. You can't defend both. Mr. Beast is up a knight, but he has to use that knight somehow. a3, take. a4, e5. So Nakamura is getting his central pawns rolling. And this could be very dangerous for Mr. Beast. Rook e1, offering a trade, good strategy, but Nakamura says no because his rook is more active. There's no point for black to trade his rook when his rook is going to be better. It's going to be an attacker, so black swings the rook 2b3, attacking the pawn. So white pushes and then he swings over. Now this pawn cannot be protected. Rook d1 played, but a great move by white. Could have been rook c1, so then the rook can come here, attacking the bishop. Rook d1 played, rook takes, and now knight e1. A great move from Mr. Beast, unleashing the bishop. Now you got rook and bishop attacking the pawn. So another amazing move by Jimmy in this game. Knight retreating, and then the knight can come out to a couple of squares. d3, c2. e4 was played, but there was a really funny moment on stream. Nakamura asked, what happens if I play this? And then Jimmy said, why don't you play it for educational purposes? Nakamura burst out laughing, knowing the fact that the bishop drops. And Jimmy saw this because of his comment later on. e4 played to shut out white's bishop. Knight c2. Another great moment from Mr. Beast. When knight c2 was played, Nakamura once again raises his eyebrows with approval. Knight c2 is such a good move because it has a chance to come here or there, to go e3, d4, and really just paralyzing these pawns. If those pawns can't move, then you're a knight up. Jimmy said, my knight is useless, so I might as well put it here, and he's right. Mr. Beast has stopped black's pawns moving forward. King e7, rook b1, d4, b6. So pawn trade, take, and bishop a8. Bishop in the corner, very safe, keeping an eye on this. This rook defends the bishop, and this rook defends the pawn. There's some beautiful geometry by Nakamura. Everything defends everything. And you get this with top players. They have this ability to play good moves such that there's beautiful coordination among all their pieces. And you can see that here. Rook protects bishop and pawn, bishop protects pawn, and these two pawns have potential. They have a future. They can become queens. Bishop f1, f5. Rook a6, Jimmy offers a trade. There is a brilliant move here by Jimmy, which is bishop b5. And now this is a problem. This rook cannot go to any of these squares because the knight will take it or the bishop will take it. So when Nakamura moves the rook, then a pawn is going to drop. So a big miss by Jimmy. However, he is applying a strategy where it is okay to trade in such a position. Rook a6 played. The rooks come off. Take, push. d3. Knight d4. And now g6. A beautiful diagonal pawn structure. Pawn chain all the way from h7 to d3. Knight b3. No need to move the knight away from the center. The knight is perfectly well placed. A good move for Jimmy is to just get the king in. The king is the only piece doing nothing. This bishop can come back in the game here. So then it can guard the queening square. No need to move the knight. However, knight b3, bishop d5, and here Mr. Beast blundered. He played king f1, dropping the knight. A better move is to save the knight, for example, knight here. Then the king can start to come in on these squares, getting really close to these pawns, not allowing them to move. And if they do move, you just take them. If d2, now the bishop can come back, and this bishop does a great job guarding the queening square. The bishop can't go there because the knight takes it. If king d6, king f2, king e5, king e3, the king is in the center, everything is holding. King f1 played, and unfortunately that move does it, because after Nakamura takes the knight, he's 3 pawns up. Game over. King e1, bishop c2. Beautiful structure here. I might make this the thumbnail of the video because it's just beautiful where you have a pawn chain all the way from h7 and you've got a bishop on c2 and supporting this pawn moving forward. Just beautiful. h4, king f6. g4, no need to take it. f4 is even better. Why? Because then you have 3 pawns together. Bishop back, push, check, king in. h5, d2 check, and now we have a transformed pawn chain, you could say. All the pawns were here, but now they are here. Every single pawn has gone 1 square further advanced in order to become a queen. The asset being on d2. So d2 check, king f1, Nakamura gets a queen. All the red arrows are the squares the king cannot go to, so the king can only go to g2, the yellow arrow. Bishop e4 check once again. Red arrows show all the squares Mr. Beast's king cannot go to. It can only go to h2 or to h3. King h2 played and queen h1 is mate. Can't take the queen because of the bishop, and the king on the left with all these red arrows, every square covered. This pawn covers this, and the queen does the rest. Mr. Beast could have played king h3, but it would still have been checkmate. You play check, so the king can't go here, 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 here. It can only come here. So king g4, and then you close in. Queen g2, check. Same thing, the king can't go here, 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 here. Sorry, here. The king can only go here, and then checkmate in one move, queen g3. Queen is protected by the pawn, and the king cannot go anywhere. Thank you so much for watching all the way until the end. If you enjoyed this video, why not give it a like and subscribe to the channel at the same time. Make sure you hit that bell, then YouTube will let you know when I release another video. Thanks a lot, and I will see you later.